Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce and Guns, and today I've got a treat for you, a very unusual pistol, an FN Browning 1900. Now, there are some much better examples out there. This at one point was blued, and then unfortunately stored incorrectly and let to rust and corrode, and then someone else cleaned it up later. Now it's been sold to me at a very reasonable price because of its condition. Now I have been promised by the actual seller that it does fire, and it does have some issues chambering the next round, unfortunately. Probably needs a new recoil spring. First of all, let's go over a little bit of history. Number one, it was actually designed by John Browning back in the late 1800s, 1890 something or other. And I think a prototype was even made back in 1896, 97, 98, somewhere in that range. And then they came up with the actual production model for 1900. That's why it's called Model 1900. But a lot of people will call this the most powerful firearm known to mankind. And the reason is because this was the model used to assassinate the Archduke Franz Ferdinand that started World War I. That fact is actually incorrect. For some reason, the public latched onto this, the actual newspapers and everything at the time latched onto the fact that a Browning 1900 was used, but in fact, it was a 1910, a much more modern version of the Browning 1900. So this model did not actually assassinate the Archduke, it was a 1910. But this model is the forefather to modern pistol design. You know, John Browning was decades ahead of everybody else. And he basically designed the modern pistol. This is a normal, this is designed in the 1800s, a normal slide operated pistol with a magazine in the, all these are normal features today, but this was revolutionary at the time. You know, magazine in the handle, magazine in the grip, and the recoil spring. Now the recoil spring is kind of different. This is the recoil spring. This is the barrel down here, which is nice because it gives you a really low bore axis, which is cool. It really helps out with recoil, but the fact that it's a heavy pistol, it's only shooting a 32 ACP, recoil is not going to be a problem anyway. It's still cool. Now later on, and also it's striker fired, so very modern design. Later on, the Browning 1910 actually brought the recoil spring down around the barrel, just like everything else you've seen. Now before we get into that any further, let's go ahead and go down the range and test it out. Alrighty folks, we're down at the range now, and I've got my mag and it takes 7 rounds. And man, every single edge on this magazine is sharp. I'm sure I'm getting a tetanus as we speak. Okay, 7 rounds here, and the target is 10 yards downrange. Let's see if something happens. Oh, there we go, okay. It kind of nosedives a little bit on me, but let's see. Let me see what happens here. It shot. I have no idea where I hit. I'll have to look at the video later. Actually, no, I think I do see it. It's off the target. Well, in the white, upper looks like about 10 o'clock, 11 maybe. Let me bring my aim down a little bit so I can do some Kentucky elevation at least. Yep. So it shoots high and very high and very left. Huh. Alrighty. Bullseye. I'm actually aiming right below the target, so still shooting high. It's actually shooting. Okay, there we go. Got our first jam of the day there. You see it's a nose up jam. And boy, that's a weird action. Look at that action. That's so weird. There we go. Oh, it went in. It went in. All right. All right. Here we go. Got a very similar nose up jam, as you can see that right there. Here we go. I think that's what the original owner was describing. That's it. All right, we're good to go. Cool. Alrighty, folks, we're back from the range, test firing the Browning 1900, which that was the first time I ever pulled the trigger on this sucker, and you were there to see it. It functioned exactly the way the previous owner said it would. It would fire, it would extract, it would have trouble feeding next round, which I have a theory. I think it's probably the recoil spring is just way too weak to get this thing to function correctly. I've now removed the ammo from the table, and we're going to check, make sure that it is unloaded. It is unloaded. Magazine, of course, unloaded as well. We won't need that at all. Now to disassemble the slide, we have two screws we have to remove here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my nice gunsmithing screws I finally upgraded. These are some of the best screwdrivers out there. These are amazing. I'm going to go ahead and grab this sucker right there. Basically, it's almost a complete hollow ground that does flatten out the end. That's nearly hollow ground. The handles are nice and wood and square, and they don't have a polyurethane on. That is just a stained finish. So very grippy from the factory. No problem at all. And it has a square shank on there, which means if you have a stubborn screw, you can go ahead and just tighten down with your crescent wrench. That's a metric crescent wrench, by the way. It's very unusual. And you can really force that down there and turn with all of your might. And this slide just comes right off there. There we go. And there is your recoil spring. Now let me show you how this works, because this is very interesting. So you see the actual recoil spring is also the firing pin spring. The firing pin, the hinge is right here, hinge is right there, and it goes down, and the recoil spring is pulling. It's going to pivot forward and actually strike the primer on the case. So let me show you that one more time here. Pull the trigger and boom. Now let me go ahead and take this out. Let's see. Pull that forward. There we go. This whole thing should, yep, come right out there. And there's a firing pin right there. You can see that right there. And if I pull it forward, pull the main spring forward, you can see that firing pin going through the bolt face. There's a little cap here that retains the spring, so we're going to go ahead and unscrew that. Some of these are on there like crazy. This is not. This is actually, yeah, this is actually screwing right off, so this should be very easy. Hopefully, hold this back so then it doesn't go flying across the bunker. There we go. Okay. There's a new spring. Quite a big difference. I'm just going to force the spring down as best I can. Oh crap. That's more difficult than it looks. Oh, come on. Ah. I'm sure I can devise a tool for this, but I'm too lazy to. I just gotta get it started. There we go. Ah. Not my first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that is so much stronger. That is so much stronger. All right. What's cool is if you can see the plunger, the actual end cap there on the recoil spring when I pull the trigger. Of course, yes, it is empty. Pull the trigger and you can see the plunger there shoot forward. Got a target 10 yards down range here, and of course 7 rounds in the Browning 1900. Still having to shoot. That might be a mag. Oh, there we go. Did that load it? It did. Okay. I think that might be a mag issue. There we go here. Now, if I remember correctly, it actually shot a lot to the left. So I'm going to do some Kentucky windage because the sights are fixed and this thing's been through hell and back. So all right, well, let's see if that actually chambered the next round. It did. Now they're just barely coming out. That brass is barely exiting the chamber. But it's shooting. It's shooting high and left. It kind of looks like I'm shooting kind of on point, but ow. Okay, yep. Still having some issues. Still having some issues here. To be expected. Stovepipe, and I think that was my last one. Yep, okay. So 7 rounds, had some issues. Let's try her again now she's warmed up. Alrighty, well, final thoughts on the Browning 1900, FM Browning 1900. Number one, this is actually a poor example of a Browning 1900. It has been through hell and back. It's an interesting design, and that's why I got this. Interesting design. I knew it was going to be a handful to try to get working, and I'm pretty sure it's going to take something more than what I can do. It's not just a simple spring change to get this thing to work correctly. So, my final thoughts are, it is cool, it's a jalopy, but it's kind of cool. It's no longer reliable. It has lost its ability to be reliable and to function correctly at all times. But back in the day, this was the pistol to have. Basically, if you wanted to own a pistol that you could conceal, because it's very thin. It's a very thin pistol. It's thinner than 1911 by far. So if you wanted a concealable pocket pistol that you could use that would be reliable through rain, snow, sleet, whatever, the Browning 1900 is what you grabbed. And a very important person actually carried one of these, Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt carried a much better looking version of this, but a Browning 1900 was his typical concealed carry pistol. And if that's not a testament to its ultimate reliability and usability, I don't know what is. Well guys, that's it for me today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go up, subscribe. A lot more is on the way. And if you have any comments, questions, or show ideas, remember to leave that in the comment box below the video. And of course, you guys have a great day. See ya.